Okay, hello, welcome. You've read the title of this video, so you know what I'm talking about. I don't like those YouTube videos that have this 30-40 second intro, so we're just gonna get into it. This is my coming out video, or I'm going to be explaining how I came to figure out what I am. If I'm being totally honest, I still kind of don't know what I am. I say I'm gay, I say I'm bisexual. I'm attracted to kind of everybody and nobody at the same time, so it's confusing. So if you're like still struggling with this stuff, don't worry. I've been struggling with this for like 7 or 8 years now. So we're gonna start actually we'll just start at the very beginning, first of all. So I grew up in a very small, conservative, rural community in Canada. Um, I was incredibly sheltered. When I tell people that I was sheltered, they don't understand what I mean. I didn't know what the F word was until I was probably, I'm gonna say 11 or 12. My parents didn't swear in front of us. We did not consume any kind of television or things like that that wasn't approved. And you might be thinking like, oh, he grew up in some cult or some like religious thing. No, my parents are atheists. They're not religious, but just because of where we were living and who my parents are, that was never a factor. We grew up, my brother and I, my younger brother and I grew up in a very pure world, and it wasn't intentionally made like that because of religion or anything, but it was just very pure. So because of that, I actually didn't know what a gay person was until I probably got into middle school. I started getting called gay as an insult in like grade 7 or 8. And I really didn't understand what that was. I was very confused by it all. So yeah, I had no awareness of it. And I've talked to a lot of gay men who knew that they were gay from a very young age. We're talking like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. I had none of that. I grew up thinking that I was this weird little robot. And I wasn't attracted to anybody, guys, girls, theys, nothing. Um, and so initially I had no idea what I was. And then I came across this term online called asexual. And asexual, if you don't know, it's someone who is not sexually attracted to anybody. They're not interested in that. It's not their thing. They can engage in activity, but it's not their thing, right? So I thought, oh, maybe this is what I am. This makes sense. Like I'd never understood sort of you'd see like a burger commercial or a car commercial and there's a girl in like a skimpy bikini, and I never understood that. I was always very sort of confused by that. Anyway, that went on for a long time. And like I said, I was bullied in middle school for being gay, and that was a lot more frustrating than actually having been gay, because I was just like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm genuinely not. I don't know why you guys are being so mean. I'm not gay. Little did I know. So flash forward to like 16 years old, I started going on dates with girls. I had several girlfriends through high school and that kind of thing. We didn't really do anything. It was just kind of like, yeah, we're dating, and we'd text every night and like hang out on the weekends and stuff like that. But that was basically it. So again, flash forward to, I think I was about 18 or 19. We're going to say 19 because I was out of high school and I was starting to go to college. I started, for whatever reason, watching a lot of YouTube videos of different creators doing this, like Connor Franta's coming out video. I watched Dylan Geik's video. That one in particular was quite big for me because in that video, Dylan talks about how he never identified with the gay community. He was into wrestling and into many masculine kind of things and interests. He wasn't interested in drag queens or female clothing or like any of the kind of standard stereotypical homosexual activity, I guess you could say. It sounds weird saying that, but anyway, after watching this video, I really resonated with what Dylan was saying. I played soccer throughout my high school years. I live on a farm. I do a lot of rural stuff. We go hunting and fishing. Like there's a lot of stuff that involves like that kind of activity. So I think like sort of subconsciously, I just never identified with that whole culture or the idea of like liking other men. I always, ever since I learned what gay was and it was an insult, I was only ever like called gay as an insult. So I had this like assumption and these predetermined notions of what being gay was and what I had to fit the stereotype. So after I watched that video, I sort of started watching a lot more videos like that. I kind of resonated with things like that. I started watching a bunch of like gay couples, like Mark and Ethan, and just different couples like that who were in relationships, and they weren't explicitly gay. You know, they were a couple and they were a gay couple, but in my mind, they were just two people in a relationship. And seeing that kind of stuff really opened my eyes. And at the same time that my brain was sort of having this like renaissance of like, wow, this is so different. You know, maybe this is, I don't know. The same time that that was happening, my body was basically just like, hey, I think you're attracted to everybody. And as it turns out, like that has shifted a lot. And I'll get into that kind of idea of labeling yourself and then going back on the label and being like, oh, I was wrong. Like, why did I label myself? I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, it basically at 19, I started realizing like, oh, maybe I am bisexual or maybe I am gay. At that point, I really thought that I was just gay. And I was like, oh, wow, this is crazy. So I kept it pretty quiet. I knew my family would like, they wouldn't care. Again, like I come from a non-religious family and nobody in my family's ever expressed like hatred towards homosexuals or anything like that. So I knew that I would be supported, but it was just a very private time. I was trying to figure out like what exactly I am, what I'm doing. To this day, I'm still pretty private when it comes to things like that. Like even my close friends, they'll know stuff about me, but I'm not like immediately forthcoming with things like that. So I was a little bit hesitant. So yeah, for basically 19, 20, and 21, I was going through college. I was living my life. I lived in England for 6 months, staying with family and just sort of, you know, figuring that stuff out. I almost joined the Navy. I did a bunch of like stuff that I was just sort of self-discovery. Yeah, and all the while I was watching these YouTubers with these relationships and specifically these like homosexual relationships. And I was watching them and wondering and just going, wow, that would be really nice to like have somebody that is kind of just there for you and that kind of thing. And I was like reflecting on the relationships I'd had previously with girls, and they weren't really relationships. They were sort of, I don't know, they were nice, and like the girls are like amazing and they're off doing great things, but it wasn't that kind of intimate relationship that everybody kind of aspires to and that you see in like Hollywood movies and stuff. So yeah, and then at 21, I moved back to Canada and I started to go to university. And so I moved away from home, and I came back from England, and then I moved away from home immediately to go to university. And I decided, and I was staying with my cousin who is a lesbian, and she's just like amazing. She was so helpful in my like discovery and coming out. And so I was lucky that I wasn't even the first person in my family to come out as LGBT. So that helped a lot. But anyway, I moved out, I was living at university, and I just decided, I think a week or two into my university experience, I was going to call my parents. So I first called my dad, and I was like, hey, like, Dad, I want to talk to you about something. And he was worried that I like got someone pregnant or something like that. He was like, oh, what's going on? Like, are you all right? Like, do you need to come up and help you? And I was like, no, I'm all good. I said, Dad, and I was like kind of shaky and my voice was all shaky. And I said, Dad, you know, I think I'm gay. I don't want it to change me. Like, I don't want you to like have a different perception of me. I'm still me. I'm still Jax. Like and I was like all shaky. I can remember it really well. Wow. I was all shaky and all nervous, but yeah, I came out to him. And it was very emotional. I think he was crying on the other end of the line. He said all the right things as a parent. He said like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. This doesn't change anything. Like, I'm so proud of you, proud that you're living your truth and living your reality, and you're not having to hide or, you know, be something you're not. So it was like a really good experience. It was fantastic, and it left me feeling good, and it was very exciting. Then I called my mom, and it was a bit of a different call. It was pretty quick and pretty brief. I think I had called her and she was busy doing something. I think she was at a store or something like that. So it wasn't exactly perfect timing. But she was supportive, and she was like, okay, yeah, but just like a little bit hesitant, you can kind of tell when someone's a bit hesitant. So anyway, sort of like told her everything, and she's like, oh, okay, yeah, that doesn't really change anything. And then it was like sort of a week later that I like heard from her again, and she's like, are you sure? Like, are you really sure? You're not doing this for attention or something, are you? And I didn't take that in the wrong way. I didn't get angry. I just said, like, Mom, like, if I wanted attention, like, I can get attention. Like, I have no problem, never have had any problem getting attention when I want it. And I think it took her a lot longer to kind of accept, and she was just pretty shocked. Like, I had dated girls, and like a lot of people that I had come out to really didn't expect or anticipate. A few of my close friends, they were like, oh yeah, like we knew, like we've known like your whole life. And like I was shocked because I didn't know my whole life. But most people had no idea that I came out as gay, and they were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So it was pretty quick after that I got into like a long-term serious relationship. And so I came out as gay, and then 2 months later I met my first boyfriend, and we were together for 2 years, and it was a crazy experience. I don't dislike it. It was good. It's what a first love should be. But yeah, that was my like initial coming out, and the big people in my life that I came out to were my parents, and I basically told them that if they were okay with it, that it was their job to tell their respective families that I was gay, and just to make sure that like nobody had a problem with it. I didn't think anybody would have a problem with it, and nobody did. But I just told my parents, like, yeah, if you could just let your families know that like I'm gay, and if they have a problem with it, then like that's fine. Like, I don't need to see these people anymore. Like, I don't need to see anybody who's not accepting of who I am. And of course, everybody was totally fine with it on both sides of my family. My 92nd-year-old grandfather was totally fine with it. Like, had no issues whatsoever. So that was good. And then basically I have been coming out ever since. I came out to somebody like a week ago, and they were really surprised. I had met them, and we were chatting in a bar or something. And then I like came out to them, and they were like super surprised. And it was just like, and it made me think like, it kind of inspired this video, but it made me think that like once you come out, you will come out of the closet all the time. Like, you will be encountering people who you then have to come out as gay or bisexual or as, whatever you are, forever. And so that sort of stereotype you have of, well, you'll be coming out forever, it's accurate, it is true. But I don't mind it. Usually people are very accepting. I've only had 1 or 2 bad experiences coming out with people, and even those experiences were not very bad. I've heard absolute horror stories, and I'll reiterate what everyone else says is only come out when you feel that you're safe and you're in a good place. Never come out to people that you think will take it very badly, or like you are then at risk in any way, physically, mentally, verbally, emotionally. You don't need that. And at the end of the day, like, your orientation is like a very private thing, right? Like, it's who you want to be with, and nobody else should have an opinion on that. So now I want to get to a little bit of the nuance of coming out and sort of what it's meant for me. And obviously, like, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on all these different platforms. So I interact with an awful lot of people every day, and I love it. I love talking to you guys. I love interacting. It's the best part of my day. That being said, I get a lot of comments on TikTok and on Instagram and on Twitter and everything, because I use the term gay and the term bisexual pretty interchangeably when I'm referring to myself. And there's a few reasons that I do that, and there's a few reasons that I identify as bisexual or pansexual or demisexual or just gay. So at the very root of it, I am attracted to people that I form an emotional connection with. So regardless of your gender or your orientation or anything, I kind of just fall in love with people based on hanging out with them for, a few months. Basically, that's what happens. That's what's always happened. I have whether it's a guy, a girl, whether they are trans, whether they are straight or gay. I fall for people based on their personality and what I am looking for, essentially. And so because of that, and typically this has been with men. I will like openly admit that typically I fall in love with men. And so that is why I say that I'm gay. That is why I have been with more guys than with girls in terms of relationships. But it confuses things because I am certainly not just attracted to men, and it makes it really messy, honestly. Like, if I'm being totally honest, it would be much simpler to just be physically attracted to men and that's it. But I sort of go both ways, or I kind of go every way. Once I have like a connection with somebody, I fall in love with them, and that's kind of it. And when I explain it to people, most people say like, oh, well, that just sounds like everybody. And I'm like, yes, exactly. But it does make things rather confusing. And so on TikTok and different places, I will talk about the struggles of being gay, even though I don't 100% identify as being gay, you know? So it's kind of difficult. And I think in today's world, everybody is looking to put a label on somebody and be like gay, like bisexual, lesbian, like whatever. And because of that, everybody wants these quick, easy labels to describe people, when sometimes you get like a confusing person who doesn't know what they're doing, ergo me. And that can be rather confusing and difficult, and it can make people very confused. I've had TikTok people, like comments on TikTok basically saying like, I thought you were bisexual, or I thought you were gay. What are you talking about? You went on a date with a girl. And so that makes it rather difficult and messy. And I understand that. I understand the confusion. I understand why the easy label of gay or bisexual or whatever is sort of like, I understand why they're used. But for me, it personally doesn't really work. And I hate being that person that's like, oh, I don't like labels. I don't label myself. But in general, like when it comes to like who I'm attracted to and who I fall in love with, yeah, it's hard to like put a word on it. I've heard people just be like, oh, you're demisexual. Like you fall in love with people on these relationship bases. And I'm just like, yeah, okay. But you know, it's more confusing than that. So yeah. That is basically my coming out story. If you've made it this far, thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys watching. This is like 18 minutes into it, so I hope I've been somewhat coherent and you kind of understand a little bit more about me. If you have any questions, please leave them down. I'm really happy to answer anybody's questions. Feel free to look at all the social media things. You guys know everything that I do. Yeah, and just enjoy your day. Never feel like you have to come out when you don't want to come out. Never feel weird about changing your label. When I came out as gay, and today, I am certainly not just gay. I'm a part of the whole thing. My family knows that like I could be bringing home somebody for Thanksgiving dinner and who knows what they identify as or anything. Like at the end of the day, does it really matter? Like as long as you're happy, why do you care so much? But anyway, I have been rambling for enough. So thank you guys for watching. Feel free to share your stories. I would love to hear more of your stories. Feel free to direct message me on Patreon, Instagram, anything, any of the things. I enjoy just connecting with you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.